This is the full VOD of the matchup between Dplus Kia and Top Esports. Let's dive into the picks and bans.
That they have two teams in the 1 and 2 mark, so Top has to do their part and look to advance.
All right, let's hop back into Champion Select, powered by Omen and HyperX, as the sides have swapped. Top on the red side this time, DK on the blue. The Renekton and the Rumble going to continue to be banned away from 369, with Gnar and Vi banned out by Top.
Does Yone get through here?
Please.
Let's see if Top are going to be banning it out or not.
Oh, you're a Yone hater.
Absolutely. Ever since the champion spotlight.
Yes. The thing is, I don't think Showmaker really plays Yone.
That's kind of what I was thinking. They might actually try to leave it up and force them to ban it on blue side or give it away.
Well, they're going to ban away the Ashe.
Daring.
Now, we know that Kingen plays it. We've already seen Kingen play it, right? But assuming that Jax is open, if they do first pick it, you just have to respond with the Jax of 369.
Exactly, and I do think it's a lot weaker in top lane simply because it's actually a long lane. You can punish this champion with counter picks. In mid lane, it's so hard to punish champions because the lane is very short and because the brushes got moved back this year to the sides. So it's so hard to actually gank mid lane. Top lane is way more abusable. They are just going to go for it here, though, and we'll see if they do regret it or not. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Vedi, where I'm thinking this might be a Kingen Yone and not going to Showmaker, but we'll see if Showmaker does bring it out.
But they gave up the Jax. I'm actually very surprised. I guess from their perspective, they could argue, assuming that this is a Yone top, then we don't need to give over the Jax because we're going to be able to lock it in on 3.
Yeah.
And if the Jax is locked in, I think, like, for what it's worth, Aurora into Yone, very abusable matchup for the Aurora. You can be hyper aggressive, and Cream already demonstrated his proficiency on the champion. So we'll see. Sejuani going to round out, and there's the Jax hover. It's going to be locked in, so we are going to get to see Showmaker on the Yone. This will be his first time at this World Championship. He has played it before, for sure. But now Top Esports have the opportunity to counter. Will they just go for the Cassante again?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, the Cassante, that is very much kind of like 369 bread and butter here. You know, he usually is the tank guy. But the top side for DK is nasty this game. You have Sejuani, Yone, Jax. Like, that is really, really strong. And when you look over at the top 3v3, it's like, there's just no way. There's no 2v2 you win. There's no 3v3 you win up on the top side. So that is going to be a real point of power here for DK. And we'll see if they can get their early game going. Because, again, that has been the point of strength for them in this tournament. It's been later when they've suffered.
I'm genuinely surprised that they didn't prioritize the Jax. I think that by locking it in, it would have given you an answer in the side lane. Because now, like, it's another intangible because on paper, I would argue that DK had just have winning side lanes across the board, right? They will get to a point, I would argue even at like one item, where they just have pressure on sides and there's not much that Top Esports can do about it. But DK do have a tendency to fight. They do have a tendency to play the 5v5s, which means that Top Esports could just be relying on that. And I was going to say, Kai'Saban should follow up from the Ziggs to limit the AP options so that you funnel them into a largely full AD comp.
Well, and I think the Ziggs ban especially is so intelligent because when you look at DK, it's screaming 1-3-1, right? It's playing the side lanes. And what do you need to actually enable that? Well, you need wave clear. You need someone that can park themselves mid, clear out these waves, not allow your towers to just get grouped and sieged on. So Ziggs definitely makes that a lot more difficult. I'm going to be curious here to see what DK looks for with aiming, as they're going to, again, be banning out that Renata.
Yeah, the Renata and the Poppy both going to be banned out second half here one more time.
Might be the Smolder again, you know? Like, we already talked about the wave clear that Smolder provides. Maybe DK is looking to lock the Smolder just so that they can keep it mid, provide that wave clear later on into the game.
I could see it, but then I just worry that similar things happen as last game, right? And it's like, if you do that, do you really want to have your Jax in a lane swap against Cassante, right? Like, the Jax, I think, is kind of in a disadvantageous position oftentimes in that. And we'll see, as this time, Mako going to be grabbing that Rel, so they are going to have some really powerful engage now. Obviously, Aurora can kind of set up for that Rel, but then you have an incredible follow-up with the Skarner, with the Rel also. Jackie Love, I feel like, needs some sort of a hyper carry, though, because as far as consistent damage, there's basically zero. Like, Aurora has kind of that shotgun burst that's up front, but you need a true hyper carry here. And the fact that they're leaving it to 5th pick does make me wonder, you know, if they're considering some more kind of risky options.
Well, MF will definitely provide you with some wave clear. The follow-up
every couple minutes.
Yeah, every now and then, admittedly. the Leona follow-up with the Sejuani means that you've got good CC on the side of Dplus Kia. Ultimately, I like the direction of their draft. They are obviously very indexed towards AD.
That's what I was going to say. Like, how worried are you about that? Because it's Cassante, Skarner, and Rel. Like,
for sure.
Everyone just stacks tabbies, and it becomes very problematic. Like, sure, then there's CC from Leona and Sejuani to maybe try to force you to build mercs, but it's like, if you're stacking armor, I'm really worried about that.
I still just feel like, though, that Yone just doesn't care. I don't know.
They have some mixed damage on the soul laners, to be fair. Obviously,
yeah,
like
I mean,
every
that's the thing, right?
auto
Both Yone and Jax, I mean, they do magic damage too, right? Like, it's not quite a 50-50 split.
But they have some mixed in.
Yes. So the Kallista's going to be the round out. I am a little surprised, I will admit. When we were thinking hyper carry, like, I think Ashe would have actually been one of the better picks there in this situation, but I guess they want a champion that can deal with the fact that there's a lot of mobility on the side of DK, and Jakilov can be very self-sufficient on the Kai'Sa. I was kind of expecting something like an Ezreal maybe, but I guess they want something that can get in the thick of things alongside the Aurora.
And it does feel like, if you're looking at compositions, I think on one item, like, top kind of blows DK out of the water in team fights. So I think, you know, what I'm expecting from this top comp is they play for bot prio, they play for dragon stacking, and they try to force this team that wants to play through sides to come and 5v5 them before they're really ready to do so.
Exactly. We were talking about the top side of the map for DK for the first half of this draft. So the answer then from Top Esports is, okay, we're playing for bottom side of the map. They did it last game to great effect, and if they can run it back here, they're in quarterfinals.
And one of the things that, you know, about Aurora, people always think about Aurora diving deep and catching out the MF and things like that, but you can play in these kind of compositions when there's 4 melee that are all diving towards one target. You just use your ulti to peel, right? Like, you get into the situation where there's these 4 melee running at your Kalista, you throw down the Aurora ult, Skarner is there, Cassante is there, Rel is there, all the counter engage is very powerful and can create that space for Jakilov. We saw what he could do with that space in game number 1, and we're gonna see if he can get similar things done here in this second game.
Exactly, and not just the ulti too. Remember that Aurora's weirding is an 80% slow for a melee champion.
I prefer not to remember that.
Obnoxious to do. You sound like a melee champion who has laned against Aurora before,
I am a melee champion. I played a Volibear top game the other day. I was like, this sounds fun. I was playing against Aurora. It wasn't fun, let me tell you.
Probably not very fun, my friend. All right, let's see if DK can have some more fun in this one than they did in game number 1. Even this series out and take us to a game 3, or if Top Esports is going to just sweep their way into the quarterfinals.
I think the answers to Yone have not been it.
Okay.
My opinion is that crowd control is the best way to deal with Yone, because he is a champion that is not allowed to build Merc Treads, basically. So there's like a big opportunity that CC kind of has extra value in a sense, because how many champions can be flecked? Oh, hang on.
They go face checking a brush, tries to crash down over the wall, gets frozen mid-air, but escapes. That's what matters. Record scratch, freeze frame, whatever you want to call it.
How I got here.
But all that really matters is that I got out.
Yeah.
Now, I know some support players will sit there and go, worth, I now have Hex Flash. The point that I was setting up for was I'm curious if this is enough crowd control to deal with the Yone. Because I agree with your point about how Aurora's ultimate can be an effective tool. I think that Rel, with a good engage, can make it annoying for Yone for sure. And then also Skarner's target focus can be crucial. So they definitely have resources to make life difficult for the Yone. But the truth is that so far at this World Championship, whether it be on side lane or team fights, this champion has been problematic.
Yeah.
And he always finds a way to have an impact.
I mean, I fully agree with you, and that's kind of the same song I've been singing, is that CC is the answer, but I'm also of the opinion that it's not a good enough answer. And that's kind of the thing, is that it's like, at the highest level, there's so many ways to play around it for the Yone. You know, if you're thinking about like playing into a Rel or a Leona, you're like, oh, just stand on your AD carry, and then when he goes in, stun him. But then all of a sudden, Q3 knocks you up. The ulti then knocks you up. Like, there's all this CC. If you're standing too close to your AD, to looking to peel, then you can get caught in that CC as well. The E can be used as a CC immunity when you're snapping back if you time that. You know, so there's all these little tools that pro players at the highest level have to be able to answer with CC. And so it can be really difficult to deal with the champion even when you draft for these intelligent choices, which I agree, CC is kind of it.
Now, we're seeing push be gained by DK in both top and bot lane, which is a little different from what we saw in the previous game, where the pressure was being put onto them, which means that this gives Lucid a little bit more agency and options in the other game. Not that I expect anything too creative in a Sejuani versus Skarner matchup. Speaking
Ooh,
of,
immediate jump in. The Zenith
Wait a
blade from
minute.
Moham is a mistake. He goes too far forward. A massive blunder from the DK support.
I mean, it feels like he just forgot about how Rel works, because Rel's going to flip you in. Like, yes, he maybe wasn't initially in the tower range, but he's just going to get dismount, flipped into the tower, stunned up, and Moham gives over a freebie.
That is rough. Ooh, nice engage coming out from Kingen here, trying to use that counter-strike to lock up Cream, who dies to the proc on the E snapback. Beautifully done there, comboing with Showmaker and Kingen to get DK on the board.
Kingen with good pressure in the top lane, finds a window to roam down to mid, and Cream, being a massive lane bully in this matchup, leaves himself susceptible to Dplus Kia finding at the very least a trade kill. Ends up being a 1-for-1 on the map.
And I just think it's so smart from Kingen, because he gets the push top. Sure, he could have based and just walked back to lane, but if you don't feel that you can really realistically pressure the Cassante anyway, it doesn't really matter, right? If you miss a CS or two there. So the time spent is actually still beneficial. Even if they didn't get the kill and he just forced out a flash from Cream, that gives Showmaker so much more agency, so much more comfortability in this kind of a range versus melee matchup, where it's up to Cream to non-stop pressure and punish this Yone for every single CS. And you can't do that when you're missing your flash.
You're completely right, Azel. And like, I was gonna talk about how like you can see how oppressive it is, specifically because what makes Aurora brutal is her 3-hit passive applies on both abilities and auto attacks, right? So even if she has things on cooldown, she can still look to try and bully you. But now Lucid looking for a gank.
Cream trying to get away from that Sejuani, play towards the other side of the lane. Mako and Moham also both making their way up into the mid lane. Scrap, nothing really to come of it here for either side, as TN now also showing up.
I mean, Top knows that Cream is really in a difficult situation now, and that is why they have 3 members here covering him, playing around him. They're clearing out vision, they're dropping pink wards. They know how he has to play the matchup to be successful, and they're going to try to enable that as best as they can, as just kind of trading back and forth here. But neither top laner has base, so there's not really a lot of oomph behind these attacks here.
There's probably not going to be some for a while. I mean, the trading in general between these two, it's going to be a pretty even lane state, I feel like, unless somebody else gets involved or Jax commits the cardinal sin of getting too close to Cassante post level 6 near a turret.
Forgetting how Cassante works.
Yeah, one of those tough ones here in League of Legends. But honestly, a very, very even early game. 5 minutes in here, very close goal between the two squads.
Now, we didn't see it, but the cleanse was burned from aiming in a little 2v2.
Whoa.
And look at that,
Nice.
the mind games from Mako. Procs the Q, threatens the flash, and aiming says, I have to respect this, I'm gonna flash away, meaning both summoners now gone for aiming.
Exactly. Without that cleanse, if you get Q flashed into the crashdown with Ignite there and everything, like you're just dead, right? So really smart play there from Mako, steps forward, forces the summoners, and now MF is going to have to get out of that lane. So they're actually going to send MF up towards topside, potentially look to try to play towards those grubs, as DK did give all of those up last game, and we'll see if top does match the swap here and look to brawl.
Ooh, Lucid. Nicely done there, stopping Cream's recall.
And look at the wave. The wave is so screwed for Cream right now, but he doesn't have flash and he has no TP, so it's very difficult because that's actually stopping his recall to try to fight for grubs. So that alone may mean top can't actually contest.
It's funny because if you were to just look at the bottom of your screen, the gold would be very similar to what we saw in Game 1, where the only advantage that Dplus Kia have in terms of gold was from that mid lane, and DK have done a great job of playing around Showmaker to help him get through this laning phase, but now there's a brawl around the grubs.
Top Esports would love to at least just smite one of these down, make sure that they can secure it. There it is, 1-1 on the first set of grubs, but DK has a 4-man unit ready to try to play here. Nice engage coming out. They go for the slam into the wall. Between Worlds finds multiple targets as Showmaker now snaps back. A lot of pressure and damage onto Jackie Love, and he drops first in the fight. TN finally gets a return kill here on a Showmaker, but now he's in a little bit of trouble himself. Mohun gets away with just 100 HP as Mako is slowed down by the Sejuani, and Cream continues trying to find a little bit more damage. The weirding has some, but is it enough? They finally end up getting another 1-for-1 trade with a 2v2 here at the very end. Cream has more health, but he has no mana. Lucid trying to get away, and he has to flash to avoid the 3-hit passive.
Cream coming up massive there for the team. Does arrive a little bit late, but got so much done as Jackie Love was focused down, didn't even get his summoners off, burst down very, very early, and you're starting to think maybe this could be a DK1 fight. Instead, Cream helps to turn it around. We can watch it one more time. I was thinking that aiming was going to be the one really vulnerable in this fight without the summoners, but it's actually Jackie Love that they land this targeting on here. They flash forward, look for this engage, and Lucid on the other side just finds him. Moham is there with the follow-up. Showmaker comes in as well, and DK are able to burst down the Callista.
And now the fight becomes even more extended, so Tian's able to finally shut down Showmaker. The problem is then Tian needs to run away. Moham is tanking up with the W active. The top esports realize they need to disengage. And this is the slight overforce from DK, because they sit there and think, oh, we can re-engage onto Tian. And they're able to get that kill, but then the re-engage comes back down onto aiming as well. I think the saving grace here for Lucid is that Cream literally runs out of mana. He is forced to flash away regardless, though, and it ends up being a 3-for-3 on either side.
I mean, Cream was just sitting on the Haunting guys. He had no mana items whatsoever. So, in that extended fight, yeah, you do have that ramping damage, but at the same time, he goes fully that is the cost of this type of build.
Mako clearing out the ward in the Pixel Brush as Tien makes his approach. There is the ultimate available for the Skarner. You always have the extra ability to tunnel through these walls, get some creative gank angles, but Lucid is hanging around here too. Could be a full-on 3v3. Tien tunneling through the wall and then immediately backs right back out.
He's just digging his way through the wall, checking out, seeing what's happening on the top side of the map, realizes he does not want to unburrow and instead goes back to the safety of the river. 369 getting a bit of pressure onto the bot side of the map as Cream makes a quick base. I thought that he would have enough gold to actually get his item, but apparently not quite yet. We are, of course, only 9 minutes into the game. Dragon's still up.
I mean, 8 kills in 9 minutes is pretty bloody. That fight in the topside river had a lot more bodies on the ground than a lot of those fights usually will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a kill in the bot lane 2v2 as well, plus a gank mid, able to get a kill there. So it has been pretty action-packed thus far. DK trying to utilize this triple melee topside with the Sejuani. They know it's a real point of power for them. They want to be looking to scrap and really force TES to try to outplay them.
And that's what we were talking about back in game 1. That's what we were talking about in the champ select for this game. They need to take advantage of how good they are in the early game, how they can build these advantages with their mechanics, with their individual skill, and set themselves up for a better spot. Nice engage there. The lockup on Jackie Love. Moham needs a little bit more damage to secure the kill. Jackie's still kiting. He gets away with sub 100 HP back underneath the safety of the turret.
A nice engage from DK, but great peel there from Mako. Normally in that situation, you wouldn't want to be using your ult and everything on the support, but Moham would have been able to chase down and kill off Jackie Love there, so it's the only way to keep him alive. But still, good proactive stuff here from DK, just connecting on Jackie Love with the very edge of the bullet time.
You're seeing the strength of getting that BF sword in the 2 versus 2, but 369, this is a kill angle.
Yeah, he's going in, wants Kingen here, flash to follow, jumps right back in with a little bit of footwork, and the Intofo strikes, bury Kingen in a 1v1.
369 with a very valuable 1v1, finds the outplay. Kingen didn't have the HP or the mana to continue the trades, and I think 369 did just come off the back of a base. You look at the item discrepancy, and yeah, it was an easy pickup for 369.
And had a really good game 1. He had been getting a lot of criticism, especially from the LPL fans, about his performance at Worlds thus far. So important for 369, having a bounce back game. Not only does he get the kill, he gets a plate off the back of it, procs to demolish, already had the sheen as well. And we may be getting another scrap here, but it looks like it's probably too late from DK.
Well, hold on. Cream could be in a little bit of a compromise
It's never too late for DK, is there?
DK still on their approach. They throw out the Glacial Prison, but it ain't going to find a whole lot yet. A lot of damage onto Jackie Love, barely staying alive here with about 50 HP. Showmaker going to grab the kill, but TM with a massive 3-man ulti. No damage to follow it up. DK will get their single kill. They will take away the 1 Void Grub. Critically, gentlemen, it is 3-3 on Grubs. Nobody gets any Void Mites.
Yeah, and it's been a tough game for Jackie Love. He is just getting picked out time and time again. There is so much CC in this 4 melee squad. If anyone gets in on to Jackie Love, then all of a sudden the follow-up is always there. Showmaker came down from the top side, was able to pressure from that angle. And again, Jackie Love goes down without being able to contribute too much to that fight. And it's a big concern for top and their composition going forward if Jackie falls too far behind.
For sure, especially when you kind of look at the damage threats. Cream and Jackie Love are really the core.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, so them falling behind is going to be a problem as DK, they're in a comfortable spot right now. We talked about the scaling threat they have on the side lane specifically, just how much of a menace Yone is in the current meta. I think DK fans can be pretty happy with the current game state. The Andrews being finished for Cream is a nice spike to have, but this Yone set up a nice freeze on the top side of the map, and he's continuing to ramp up.
Yeah, if we're talking about item spikes, there's quite a few coming through right now. Hold on, we'll talk about them in a second, unless this turns into something absolutely crazy. There's your Wombo combo with the engage, the Ishtal impact from Tien, followed up with all the CC from Mako. Vedius, I believe you called it, my friend. Yone doesn't like CC, and Top Esports have figured it out.
I mean, that's the solution when you're having to deal with a 1,000-year-old samurai. Just impale him into a wall with a giant scorpion from 1,000 years ago as well.
Just 4v1 him under his tower.
Yeah,
it should just be
on his team.
Simple,
it's pretty
easy,
simple.
yeah.
Come on, guys. Why didn't anyone else think of that?
Top Esports coming out on top yet again. They're going to grab themselves almost a 1,000 gold lead here. We still have a little bit over a minute until we get to the Rift Herald and that next neutral objective spawning. The second Drake of the game, still first Drake of the game, I actually should say. I was expecting it to have been cleared already, but it did not happen. So that first Drake still live. Cloud Drake in the bottom half of the map. What I was going to touch on before we got the dive, first item power spikes are coming in for a lot of champions. You've got the Zeeks for the Sejuani, Heartsteel again for the Skarner in this game, along with that Bloodthirster for the misfortune of aiming that is 2-1-2, as Moham could be in a bad spot here. Crash down plus the weirding, a little bit of damage on that one as Kingan has to get away back underneath the tier 1 turret in the bottom side of the map at the same time with the bullet time flying in over the top. A lot of damage onto Cream, beautifully punished from DK as top chase a little bit too far. But now what is this? Lucid nearly caught out there thanks to the Skarner ulti, but a flash into an Arctic Assault back over the wall, and now Jackie Love is once again in the sights of aiming, and DK one more shot to the head, and Jackie's out of there. Aiming still fighting as TN tries to get the last little bit of damage onto Lucid to make this one a 1-for-1 trade. While Showmaker chases after Mako up in the top lane. It is a chaotic game too.
The skirmishes are just going in the favor of DK across the map. I mean, Leona is annoying because even if she face checks, W gives you all these resistances, but then she holds onto the Aftershock until after her W wears off, and then she stuns you, and then the Aftershock procs, and it's just like, oh, this champ is way too unkillable. And then even though they thought they caught Lucid out, they also didn't have enough damage. Jackie Love is very far behind right now, and Top Esports going for these skirmishes when they're just not strong enough.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a bit of an overchase, right? They do catch out Moham, but at the end of the day, as you say, you know, he has so much resistances here, and Showmaker's able to come in from the top side. They turn immediately as Showmaker and Aiming do arrive, and then over on the other side, Jackie, not enough damage to actually finish off Lucid, and he just lays a trap with this ward. This is really nice play around that ward, just utilizing the vision as soon as he comes around there. He didn't even have cleanse available. It was up in about 5 more seconds. So great timing. They find the pick. And it's been really good play in this game too from DK. I think even though the gold is actually in the favor of top, I think they are very far ahead. Just looking at the goal difference between these two AD carries, it's a 2-threat team and you only have 1 threat.
Yeah, not a great sign for Top Esports with the current state of Jackie Love. As you can see, the Rift Herald is now on the map. MasterCard Lane Economy snapshot showing you, yeah, it's a huge advantage for aiming, but also a massive advantage for 369 in that top lane 1v1 that we haven't really seen a whole lot from after the solo kill. Now the Rift Herald is the target for Top Esports. Mohammed Lucid walking up. Lucid wants to be able to challenge here for the flip, and he steals it away. Beautifully done with the bullet time in over the top. It's not going to find a whole lot of damage as Showmaker tries to jump in. He resets his position and gets back away, but Lucid's going to be killed up first as Cream tries to disengage. Kingan in the middle of everybody with a counter-strike, but he ain't going to find a lot. 369 is on the hunt as Moham and Kingan try to get out. TN still chasing. Moham's about to drop. DK lose 2 men. Yes, they might have stolen away the Herald. They do end up being able to pick it up thanks to Showmaker.
Yeah, and this time Showmaker actually going to TP back, and he's looking for Jackie.
He's ready to keep going. On the front line, though, with Kingan, they aren't going to find the target they're looking for. DK, though, they summon up the Rift Herald here in the mid lane. They claim the tier 1 turret, and now Showmaker is just going to take an Uber home. Or does he drive it up into the top lane instead? He might be able to swerve this one. Let's see if he can connect.
Yeah, we'll see if he can actually make it all the way there. It also might just expire. Cream. Oh.
All right. Unlucky.
It hit the curb, unfortunately, and it will walk in and just die, but good TP back from Showmaker. He barely survives and is able to TP back and make something from nothing there. They get the tier 1, and not only that, he forces out the flash from Jackie Love, because this is one of the first fights where they really couldn't reach the top AD carry.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising to me that Top Esports turned this fight around, and I think crucially, I'm going to keep my eyes on 369 because there's this front line that kind of carry a nice ulti from MF, but it doesn't actually connect as much as I thought it would. The ulti came through onto Cream from Showmaker onto the back line, but you kind of look at who's actually in the fight, and it's really only Showmaker and Lucid, so good target selection from Top Esports is now Cream.
Oh, Cream, they popped the tier 1 turret in time, and now with a TP coming in to reinforce him, it's Cream at 369 against Kingan and Showmaker. 369.
Long enough.
Still on the chase here, has the third in Tofo strike, looking for the knockback. Hits Kingan. Not really a whole lot more to get out of this one, though. They had Mako and TN coming up around the side in case the fight kept going, but Top Esports not going to disengage it after having kept their mid laner alive. Hold on, Moham. Now the target. TN ready to tunnel through the wall here to back up Mako. Remember, this Leona is very, very, very tanky. Still at about half HP. Impale to drag him right on back. They are throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this dude, and he's still getting away. Cream finally takes the kill.
I mean, That was a lot of CC required. It's just like, we will hold you here until all of your resistances wear off. They eventually find the kill. Bear in mind that the dragon dropped eventually in all of that. The first dragon of the game going in favor of DK as Lucid ended up securing that. But I like the response there from 369. I was concerned heading into the mid game because, as you were highlighting, as well, pretty much the gold was in the right places for DK, right? Your Showmaker's in a good spot, aiming is really far ahead, and you think coming into these mid game fights, as long as these carries are strong, then it doesn't really matter. But 369's presence is very much there in the team fights. This unmovable wall that is just being obnoxious and buying peel and time for JackeyLove, I think is crucial. And that TP into top lane, keeping Cream alive, is just another example of that.
And the itemization is exactly what we were expecting from 369 as well. You can see the Thornmail just now being completed alongside the Iceborne Gauntlet and the plated steel caps. Yes, you have the mixed damage from Jax and Yone, but it's still massively favoring physical damage overall, and this guy is just built to endure that.
Yeah, and it's so many auto attacks, between these champions, right? And Tabby's are just going to be able to straight reduce that. You can see the armor is starting to get stacked up here by Tien. Did have to give some respect over to the amount of CC, obviously, that there is. Sejuani, Leona, Jax, there's a ton of CC there. So yes, Merc Treads are still obviously, pretty strong, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go into something like a Frozen Heart next or a Randuin's, and is going to be really difficult to actually punch through.
I like that you mentioned that because as the targets that are likely to face check, sometimes that extra tenacity is just more valuable than having the armor reduction from Tabby.
Showmaker has already used his Soul Unbound, and 369 is still chasing. As Mako and Tien are ready to intercept Lucid, Showmaker needed to use the Fate Seal to get away from 369. As soon as he saw Showmaker use that E, that massive amount of Yone's power budget, he was ready to full send it.
It's reminding me watching Cassante versus Yone, just like, I was you before you were you, okay? Cassante still doing Cassante things. Of course, 369 with the lead that he does have is going to make it difficult for Showmaker without any way to shred through that armor.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. And honestly, from the position that 369 is in, if you can just trade ults with him, it's honestly really, really good, because Yone without that ultimate, I think it's going to have a really hard time, showing up to these team fights and threatening backline. And as long as Cream and JackeyLove are not threatened, they are going to be looking really good in these 5v5s. It's the Hallway Baron that's going to be spawning up, which you can play a lot of interesting vision games around this one because there's those extra walls, which can make it pretty difficult to have kind of full ward coverage.
Yone ulti also completely goes down that whole hallway. So getting rid of the Yone.
Pardon?
I said the Yone ulti also completely covers the whole hallway. So you've got to be careful about that hallway.
Yeah, and like Betty said, Cassante is also really difficult. Skarner can pull off some good plays. So there are some interesting things that you can do with vision in this game and with these champions. A lot of players actually like to kind of play around this area where you're kind of playing in there. And if the other team ends up face checking in, you can be kind of setting up there for a trap, have an MF come out over the wall, that kind of thing, which I think it's the most interesting of the Baron Pit spawns, honestly.
Definitely adds some cool opportunities. Top Esports still up about 2,000 gold right now, have a +1 advantage in terms of turrets, but there is one Drake for DK. Only one Drake taken so far in this game at 21 minutes in. It has been such a bloody game, such a PvP-focused game. We haven't had time for the objectives. The second Drake going to be spawning here in about a minute, a little bit under that now. We'll see if we get a fight for it or if it's just a handshake, somebody takes it, the other side happy to farm up instead. Looking at where the items are, Randuin's Omen now fully completed for the Skarner. The Malignant's done for Cream with the Aurora. You have 2-item Power Spike for JackeyLove now as well. We've already talked about how this game has been pretty rough for him. 3 deaths already on the Callista. Was focused pretty heavily in some of those early fights, but seems to be recovering rather well.
I mean, crucially, he's about to be 2 levels down as well. I think after this wave, aiming should tick over to level 13. And those 2 levels are going to make a big difference as we get closer to the big fights.
It goes stunned up, has to flash away as DK was threatening a full all-in on that support. With the Dragon about to spawn, it would have been a guaranteed objective over to DK.
I do wonder if Top Esports feel strong enough to fight right now. I mean, I feel like you could make the argument that if you leave Yone on the side lane longer, it's only going to get worse, so maybe now is the best time for you to fight. However, they don't have... Oh, I say that. They now have great position thanks to the push that 369 got on bot lane. Cream is catching that wave on top. He has the TP available. And when we see the vision, DK is largely starved of this Dragon.
And I think their top side is so strong right now. 2 items across really the board here. You're looking at the jungle in the top from the other side, way weaker.
Showmaker over the wall there with the Soul Unbound, but he has to snap back. The Drake is going to be claimed before Lucid can try to show up and threaten a 50-50. Tien wants to jump over the wall. Lucid's about to lose the Arctic armor. They're trying to use a lot here on the Sejuani. The Impale only onto the enemy tank. Showmaker's looking for the angle here, but Lucid's going to be killed off first. Jackie Love taking the kill as Moham is isolated from the rest of the team. Jackie Love's trying to be protected by Mako and Tien. He needs to kite out away from the Yone, but a nice move coming out from Showmaker to take him down. Aiming is kiting it out. Tien is about to die. Kingen looking for a little bit more as Tien gets away, but finally Aiming getting the last auto attack and a double kill back over to the AD carry from DK, but he's the only one left standing. 7 dead bodies on Summoner's Rift, and Top Esports comes out +1.
It's an absolute bloodbath by the red buff. The follow-up fight there was massive as Top was feeling really confident to chase in. Kingen, though, made this a very difficult fight. He had a very good angle, as we'll go later into this. Obviously, Top is able to secure. Then we're going to see Top looking to actually force this. And I'll draw your eyes down towards this Jax. He's going to come around from below here and look to get onto Jackie Love. And Jackie Love very early on is going to have to actually flash over the wall into the pit as Moham and Kingen put that pressure on. Jackie Love, though, did a good job getting damage over the wall. And you can see that they make a full call to try to jump into that red buff pit and peel for him. Tien flashes over the wall. Mako's ulted over the wall. Cream is there peeling. Everyone is trying to peel for this AD carry.
And then Aiming, nice use of the ultimate with the flash there as well. Unfortunately, it kind of cuts him off. If he'd ultied across the red pit, I wonder how much damage that would have done. But he made the decision to instead shut down Cream to eliminate that threat.
Lucid could be in a compromised spot here, but he has enough time to get away before the rest of Top Esports show up. And it looks like Top is starting up the Baron. This
they want
is
to force TP from Kingen.
A little dicey, yeah. They want Kingen's attention here. There is vision in that hallway near the Baron pit. Lucid is around.
There's the TP.
Top Esports now turning for the fight. Lucid's going to be the focus here at the start, taking a lot of the damage between worlds, ready to drop and try to keep DK in place, but Kingen has already killed Jackie Love. He'll be traded back. Lucid is very low. He's already going to be killed now as 369 goes on a killing spree. Over the wall he goes to bring back another one on DK's side. A double kill for the Cassante as he tries to get away, but Showmaker is making plays on Top Esports. DK is ready here in his second game.
Top Esports skipped too many steps. There was too much vision and angles for DK to approach from, and Kingen with a fantastic TP flank is able to come in from behind. And look, they're TPing back in. They're going to start this Baron off.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted the TP, and damn, did they get it. Kingen came in and just killed Jackie Love off for free to start the fight, and now it's Cream versus 3 to try to stop the Baron.
Cream even flashing over the wall there to escape Showmaker's Yone. Top Esports draft hubris is being punished. Showmaker is showing them this Yone and why you do not let it through. They are focusing Jackie Love so well. Kingen on the Jax, always looking to isolate him, always looking to beat him down, and DK have earned themselves a Baron.
And you talk about CC and one of the answers to Yone. Well, he is a QSS now, and Aiming has been positioning incredibly well. But look at this TP. No one is marking Kingen whatsoever. I thought they were going to look to turn on the TP. Instead, they try to engage down, but you're abandoning Jackie Love. That's horrible team fighting from Top.
And Top Esports, they really funnel onto the front line. Moham and Lucid are the ones tanking up so much of the initial burst.
And watch Aiming.
But the moment that you lose, Jackie Love, like so much of your damage disappears, and it becomes easy cleanup as Aiming. Did he even take a drop of damage in that whole fight?
No, Aiming wasn't hit a single time, and no one was marking the TP. I mean, they wanted to force the TP. I thought they were going to either force the TP and turn on the TP and try to burst down the Jax, or force the TP and just try to get out, but they kind of did neither, and Jackie Love got left out to dry, and Top make a massive mistake there with their team fighting. And that does give DK a really strong in to potentially win this game. Look at the carries, look at mid, look at bot. It's a 2-threat team, and they're down a combined 3.4, 3.5K gold just in those 2 roles.
Yeah, it is not a good game here for Jackie Love. 5 deaths now on the Callista. Good focus from the DK carries, diving him over and over again. You can see the damage recap from the previous team fight. Over 5K for Aiming on the Misfortune, doing exactly what he needs to do, being the cannon for this team. You can see your goal difference over time was feeling pretty good for Top for quite a while there, about 10 straight minutes where it was in their control. But now it's DK in the driver's seat. They've got these 2 great split pushing champions, and they've got 90 seconds to bulldoze some structures inside lanes.
I mean, there's just a lot of standing goals for DK to just grab, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Lucid continues to Like, it looks like he's getting caught, but he can tank so much of the damage up, and it forces Top Esports to overextend again.
Tien missing the Impale. That one's going to hurt as Showmaker has to reset his position with the Soul Unbound. He popped the QSS to get away. Moham's going to keep the fight going. Bullet time gets Tien very low, but he ain't dead yet. Still burning to the Ignite. Barely survives with about 50 HP left. Nobody dead on either side here.
So just a number of ultimates traded. Moham ended up losing his flash. Looks like that... I think Mako didn't have his flash prior to that fight anyway. He did end up dropping the Ignite. So a couple of summoner spells, but ultimately nothing too significant gained. At the very least, Top Esports could look at this as a bit of a stall tactic, so that the pressure from DK is alleviated somewhat. But you already look at the Jax returns to top lane, starts pushing in this wave, and now their attention turns back towards the Dragon.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, this time around, DK has kind of reached some of those scaling breakpoints that they needed to. Top, though, going to be moving in is, I feel like DK just thought Top weren't going to even try to contest, and they're not in position to actually fight for this, even with the lead.
Yeah, Showmaker has to snap back, and Top can claim themselves their second Drake of the game.
Okay, so we kind of get close now to the 30-minute mark. It's unlikely that DK can do much more off the back of this Baron, so we're looking at another big fight. You talked about those item spikes, Azael, and ultimately that's what we're playing for now, where there's a window of about 3 minutes. Both sides are going to be looking to catch as many waves, kill jungle camps, get as much golden experience as possible, ready for this upcoming fight. But I want to draw your attention to levels. Like, levels are very valuable sources of damage.
Yeah.
And aiming has nearly a 3-level lead. It's about 2 levels, but yeah, he's going to tick over to 16, and crucially, that's 3 points in the ultimate as well. So aside from the fact that he has 3 items completed with a pickaxe on top of that, he also has all of these level advantages, which, I mean, he's the same level as 369. And so the levels alone, I think, already make things difficult for Top Esports, but there are certain breakpoints as well in the sense that Showmaker now becomes a lot harder to kill. Azel's already highlighted the things like the QSS. Jax is at a point where there's no way Kalista can do anything against this Jax.
Yeah.
And while the Terminus has now been completed for Jakilov, the question is it enough? On paper, I would say no, but that's kind of what you're hoping for.
And I mean, it's one of these things where the big advantages for top really were in top lane and jungle, right? But these kind of like bruiser tanks, your damage falls off heavily as you get later on into the game. You know, just your base damages is really what carries you because you're not building damage items. So in those early skirmishes, you really can be a massive threat, but you can't depend on 369 and Tien to be able to carry the damage in a fight later on. And Showmaker has the QSS, he has a giant spelt on top, he's got some HP with the Strikebreaker. Like, this is not someone easy to burst down.
Yeah, Cream. Talking about easy to burst down, though, Aurora does not want to get any closer to this Jax. Lucid coming into back King and up, throws out the Glacial Prison, but Cream just a hop, skip, and a jump away from death. He'll survive for now.
Top are looking to collapse potentially here. We'll see if they can chase anyone down.
Doesn't look like it, but 2 ultis invested. Fortunately, 1 minute and 15 until the next Baron, so that shouldn't cost DK too much. But funnily enough, I was just thinking to myself, okay, obviously it looks doom and gloom for Top Esports, so what ways do they come back? And I was going to say, I think they should be trying to look for picks on side, because that's what DK is leveraging right now. They have a Yone pushing bot, they have a Jax pushing top. Maybe you need to leverage Skarner's ability to go through walls to maybe catch someone off on a side lane, especially when there's nothing that really DK could cross-map for. But then it's DK to actually initiate the pick on the top lane.
And I think my biggest concern, like normally I would fully agree with you, but I just don't even know, like, do you have enough damage with Skarner plus Scream or Skarner plus 369 to actually kill off Showmaker or Kingham before they kind of just run away, right? Like, at this point in the game, it is really tough. Aurora is so front-loaded in your damage, and now there's, you know, MR on both these soul laners. There's a lot of HP on both these soul laners, and it's going to be really, really tough. They need to have that perfect fight where Jakilov somehow is having a big effect, and they're looking for aiming.
Yeah, they want this misfortune if they can get him. Aiming slowed down, but the Impale has already missed. 369 wanted the pincer attack, but it's Kingan coming around from the side now as Jakilov is immediately locked up, but he's trying to kite it out to get away in time. Kingan down to 1/3 HP, but Showmaker's into the back line with a Fate Seal. Jackie's still under pressure. Showmaker snapping back. Top Esports with an HP advantage, but nobody dead on either side. Third and Tofo strike comes out. 369 looking to keep the chase going. No kills, but Baron is available. Showmaker used TP and Flash in that fight. Kingan used a Flash as well. We'll see if DK can get back in position in time.
Showmaker's trying to heal up off the red buff. He's going to actually kill the red buff for his team. He's life sealing up off it, but here comes Kingan again, and Jakilov is off to the side by himself.
Jakilov at low HP, but the rest of the team is ready to try to turn. Mako with a shattering strike. Top Esports panicking to protect their AD carry. They're forced off the Baron.
So you could argue that that was a one-team fight for Top Esports in the sense that they got position over the Baron, but the health bars are now going back up for DK. The mid tower is going to drop. Top Esports need an opportunity for reset, but they're not going to be given one, as DK is just going to put the pressure immediately back onto Top as they start the Baron.
Beautifully done from DK. Now they're the ones forcing Top Esports to respond. 369 against Kingen is not feeling good for the Cassante. 32 minutes into the game, not against the 3-item Jax. TN wants to try to dive through the wall, but instead he has to flash away from the solar flare, worrying about getting bursted down himself. The Skarner not tanky enough at this point in time, but at least he buys enough time for DK to be forced off the Baron now too.
And again, that's the awkward spot. We'll see if they can catch one of these recalls.
This could be a little bit greedy from DK. Moham's trying to get out now. Lots of flashes being spent as Lucid also gets himself out. Showmaker looking for an entry into the fight, and aiming goes unstoppable. Bullet time cuts down Mako, and Top Esports are in a 4v5. Aiming with a single shot back at the Jackie Love. TN coming in, aiming with a flash away now as the engage from Moham ain't gonna be good enough. He's down to about death's door, and they finally get him. Cream takes the kill. Lucid's trying to get away, and 369 goes all out, all in, all the way forward for Top Esports. Kingen swoops around to try to cut the wave, but Top just found a miracle.
It's all nines for 369 in this one. Taking over on that fight, gets in on aiming, flips him in, gets the 1K showdown, and now they're gonna be looking for Baron here. Lucid is without flash, and he's in a 1v5. He needs Jax to help him out.
He's got Kingen here to try to back him up. Kingen is very powerful on this top lane. Jax 32 minutes into the game. Lucid at about 1/3 HP. Cream wants to keep the Jax away. 369 barely hanging on. Very small health bar. TN wants to guarantee he can secure this objective for his team, but Lucid goes over the wall ready to jump into the pit. The Baron's going to be claimed by the Aurora of all people. Cream's living the dream. Kingen has to try to get away. Cream still in hot pursuit. The Jax will live, but Top Esports get another kill, and they get the Baron. Game number 2 is delivering.
In an unbelievable turn of events, Top Esports find an incredible fight. Crucially, look at the minimap. Recalls coming through. They don't have vision on them, but they find a way to spot them out. The ultimate is available from Cream. He's able to force the flash out from Moham. They engage onto Lucid, and the Jax is still pushing Top. He's saying, DK, disengage, disengage, let me push. And as long as DK do disengage at this point, they're fine. But aiming over steps. He steps too far forward, and Top Esports find a window to engage.
Yeah, the early Ren there, from Jackie, slowing him down, forcing out the flash, and then 369 gets in with the Pathmaker. The third and Topo strikes, knocks him up, knocks him down. That is a huge play there from Top, and honestly a great read. They saw them walking through the river, just had the read that they might be going for a recall in that brush. If they're not, it costs you nothing, but they were, and they get that catch, and they turn the game around, and now they're on the push.
All right, back to live. We'll see if Top has the firepower to keep this going. Jax Show completed for Jackie Love will help him against this Yone and Jax trying to dive onto him, but it's still just a single tank item against two very fed divers. Arm guard now completed for Kingen's Jax as well. Top Esports still looking to push onto the tier 3 turret. Mako on the front line, got to be a little bit careful. Jackie Love saves him. Top Esports backing away for now.
And Cream has his death cap now completed. He is solo AP on that team, so he is going to be a massive threat.
Okay, tier 3 turret, just about dead here in the bottom lane. Just about dead over in the mid lane as well. Lucid's gonna be dragged back by the Impale. Cream goes between worlds, and Lucid is down. King into the back, trying to cause some disruption, but he's gonna be hurt next. Moham about to drop. 369 here on the front line, needs a little bit more damage, and again, the Cassante will not stop. Kingen's on the run. Top Esports looked like they had no shot left, and now they are pushing into the DK base. Showmaker, Kingen, and aiming all still alive. Top with all 5 men still ready to go, but they gotta be careful with some low health bars. Showmaker goes in for a fate sealed. Big bullet time of the 369. Cream has already killed Showmaker. Aiming is about to be caught. Kingen jumps into a 1v4, but he will not find his hero's moment. An ace for Jackie Love and a sweep for Top Esports. DK tried, and they could not do it. Top will rise to the occasion and make their way to the quarterfinals for the first time since 2020, and they will do it with a 2-0